A hand slammed down on the counter. The pie plate rattled. The fork clattered to the floor and spun twice before settling. The whole diner went quiet, not the kind of quiet where people look up and then look away. The kind where everything stops. Marcus Kane had been alive 54 years and riding motorcycles for 35 of them. He'd learned to read rooms the way other men read newspapers. Fast, accurate, with an eye for what mattered and what didn't. And what mattered right now was the little girl standing in the booth behind him. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Dark brown hair pulled back with a rubber band that had seen better days. Red jacket with a broken zipper. Both hands gripping the vinyl seat back like she was holding herself up. And her eyes. Her eyes were locked on him with an intensity that didn't belong on a child's face. "Don't eat that," she said. Not a suggestion, not a warning, a command. Marcus set down the coffee mug he'd been holding. Slowly. The way you move when you're deciding whether something is about to go sideways or already has. He turned on the stool to face her. The girl didn't move, didn't blink, just kept staring at him like she'd seen something terrible and was trying to figure out if telling him about it would make things better or worse. "Kid," Marcus said. His voice came out rougher than he meant it to. Voice of a man who'd spent 3 decades around engines and men who didn't talk much. "Do I know you? No," she said, "but I know you." That should have been impossible. Marcus Kane hadn't been to Havre, Montana in 6 years. He'd been careful about that, careful about a lot of things. Ever since he'd walked away from the Hells Angels 3 years ago, he'd been the kind of careful that keeps a man breathing. He looked at the pie in front of him. Apple, last slice under the glass dome. The waitress had recommended it without him asking. "Fresh this morning," she'd said. He'd believed her because the place looked like the kind of diner where fresh meant something. "What about the pie?" Marcus said. "Someone put something in it," the girl said. "For you." For the mean-looking man who came in on the motorcycle. The diner was called Rosie's. Hand-painted sign out front. 2 pickup trucks in the gravel lot. The kind of place that had been there 40 years and would be there 40 more serving coffee and pie to people passing through on Route 2 who needed gas and a place to sit down that wasn't moving. Marcus had pulled in 20 minutes ago because his tank was on empty and his stomach wasn't far behind. He'd taken the stool at the far end of the counter. Back to the wall, eyes on the door, old habits. The kind that had kept him alive when being alive wasn't guaranteed. The waitress was in her 50s, gray hair, kind eyes, wedding ring worn smooth. She'd poured him coffee without being asked, and he'd liked her for it. The trucker 3 stools down was on his phone, half listening to a baseball game on the radio behind the counter. Everything had been normal until the girl's hand hit that counter. "Who told you to say that?" Marcus asked. "Nobody," she said. "I watched him do it." "Him who?" "The cook. He came out from the back with your pee." He stopped at the counter. He took something from his pocket and put it in. "Then he brought it to you." Marcus looked toward the kitchen, the swinging door with the round window. He could see movement behind the glass but couldn't make out who. He looked back at the girl. "What's your name, Emma?" "Emma what?" "Walsh." "Where are your parents?" "Emma Walsh." She looked down at the table, at a grilled cheese sandwich cut in half, one half eaten, one half not. At a backpack sitting on the seat beside her like a friend. "I'm by myself," she said. That wasn't an answer, and Marcus knew it. But he also knew when to push and when to wait. This was a wait situation. He turned back to the counter, pushed the pie plate 6 inches away from him. The cook came through the swinging door 30 seconds later. Heavy-set man, late 40s, with a face that didn't settle into any expression. Not friendly, not unfriendly, just flat. Like he'd decided a long time ago that showing anything was a waste of energy. He walked to the register. Didn't look at Marcus, didn't look at the pie, just started counting bills from the drawer like it was the most important thing in the world. Marcus stood up. When he stood, the diner noticed. He was 6'2" and built like someone who'd been lifting heavy things for 30 years because he had been. Motorcycles, engine blocks, men who needed moving. He walked toward the kitchen. The waitress looked up from refilling a coffee pot. Everything okay? Marcus didn't answer. He pushed through the swinging door. The kitchen was small, grill against the back wall, prep counter to the left, dish station to the right. The cook was there now, scraping down the grill with his back to the door. Turn around, Marcus said. The man took his time, wiped his hands on a towel, turned slow. When he saw Marcus standing there, nothing changed in his face. That was the first thing Marcus noticed. No surprise, no confusion, no anger. A man who sees a customer walk into his kitchen should be one of those things. This man was none of them. You got a problem with the food, the cook said. Yeah, Marcus said. I got a problem. You put something in my pie. Nothing moved in the man's face. Don't know what you're talking about. The little girl saw you. Little girls see all kinds of things. Marcus took 2 steps forward. The cook's hand went to his apron pocket. Marcus was faster. He crossed the distance in one move, grabbed the man's wrist, twisted it behind his back, and put him face first against the prep counter. The cook grunted, tried to pull away. Marcus pressed harder. Empty your pockets, Marcus said. You got no right. Empty them, or I empty them for you. The cook went still, the kind of still that means a man's doing math. Marcus could feel it, the tension in the shoulders, the weight shifting slightly to the left. Looking for an angle, don't, Marcus said. You won't like how that ends. The cook stopped shifting. Marcus reached into the apron pocket himself, felt something small, pulled it out. A folded paper pouch, the kind a pharmacist might use for powder medication. Except no pharmacist folded it like this. Marcus opened it. White powder, half empty. Half of it was in that pie. Marcus looked at the cook. The man's face was pressed against the stainless steel, but his eyes were visible in the reflection. Flat, like looking at them wasn't different from looking at a wall. Who paid you, Marcus said. The cook said nothing. I'm asking once, Marcus said. After that, we're past asking. A name, the cook said. That's all I got. Say it, Rick Vargas. Marcus felt something cold move through his chest, not fear. He'd stopped feeling fear around the same time he'd stopped being surprised by what people would do for money. This was recognition, the kind you feel when you turn a corner and see a street you thought you'd never walk down again. Rick Vargas wasn't a Hell's Angel, wasn't a rival gang. He was a fixer, the kind of man who solved other people's problems for cash and who had connections in 4 states and a memory that went back decades. If Vargas was involved, someone had paid serious money, and serious money meant serious intent. How'd he know I'd be here, Marcus said. Don't know, I just know what I was told. Which was, what put me down quiet, make it look natural. The cook didn't answer, didn't need to. Marcus already knew. He pulled a zip tie from his jacket pocket, had kept one there for 20 years. Old habit from the days when conversations sometimes ended with people needing to stay put. He fastened the cook's wrists to the pipe under the sink. Someone'll find you in an hour, Marcus said. Don't make noise or it'll be longer. He walked back through the swinging door. The waitress was behind the counter now, both hands flat on the surface, watching him with eyes that had gone from kind to careful. The trucker had his phone halfway out of his pocket and was deciding. Marcus pulled out his wallet, set 3 20s on the counter. For the coffee, he said. Sorry about the trouble. He sat back down on the stool. This was where logic said the story should end. Threat identified. Threat handled. Cook tied up in the kitchen. Marcus knew Rick Vargas's name. He could be 2 counties away before anyone untied that cook. He'd disappeared from harder situations than this. But the girl was still in the corner booth. Emma Walsh, 8 years old, watching him with those same steady eyes. The grilled cheese was gone, both hands wrapped around a glass of water. Marcus stood up, walked over, sat down across from her. You all right, he said. Yes, most kids would ask what happened in there. I saw you go in, she said. I saw you come out. That's enough. Marcus studied her, the red jacket with the broken zipper, The backpack beside her that looked like it carried everything she owned. The way she sat with her shoulders straight like she was holding herself together by force of will. How long have you been sitting here, he said. 2 hours. Waiting for what you. That was impossible. Marcus Kane was nobody's destination. He was the thing people ran from or forgot about. He'd made sure of that. How do you know who I am, he said. My mom told me. Marcus went very still, the kind of still that happens when a piece of information lands that doesn't fit anywhere. That changes the shape of everything around it. What's your mom's name? Emma hesitated, like she was deciding whether saying it out loud would make something real that she'd been keeping unreal by not saying. Rebecca Walsh, she said. The diner went quiet again. Or maybe it had been quiet the whole time, and Marcus just noticed now. He sat there looking at this 8-year-old girl with her broken zipper and her backpack and her steady eyes. Rebecca Briggs, he thought, before she was Rebecca Walsh. 22 years ago, Sturgis Rally, 3 weeks that felt like 3 months. She'd been 23. He'd been 32. They'd both been running from something. His something was the Hells Angels getting too violent. Her something was a family that wanted her to be someone she wasn't. They'd made sense together for exactly as long as they'd been in the same place. Then he'd gone back to the chapter. She'd said she wasn't built for that life. He'd understood. They'd parted without anger, without promises, just two people who'd found each other for a while and then hadn't. He'd thought about her sometimes, not often, but sometimes. How old are you, Marcus said. 8, Emma said, 9 in November. Marcus did the math. Did it again to be sure. 22 years ago, he'd left Sturgis in August. If Rebecca had been pregnant, then she'd have known by October. Emma would have been born in May. She'd be 8.5 now. The math fit. Where's your mom now, he said. Emma's jaw tightened. Just a little. The way it does when you're trying to hold something in place that wants to break apart. She died, Emma said. February. She said it flat. Factual. The way kids say hard things when they haven't found another way to carry them yet. Marcus sat there. The diner sounds came back. The radio, a truck shifting gears outside, the waitress moving behind the counter. But all of it felt distant, like it was happening in a different room. I'm sorry, he said. Emma nodded, didn't say anything. Is there family? Someone taking care of you. She had a brother, Emma said, but he moved somewhere after she got sick. I don't know where. So you're alone. Emma looked at him, 8 years old, alone in a diner in Montana with a backpack and a broken zipper. Mom told me about you, she said, about a month before she died. She wrote your name on a piece of paper. She said you lived on the road and you'd be hard to find. She said Route 2 in Montana was where you always ended up in summer. She paused. She said you were mean-looking, but that I should trust you anyway. Marcus almost smiled. Almost. Did she say why? Because you were the only person she ever trusted with her whole life. That hit differently than it should have. Marcus had been trusted with a lot of things. Money, secrets, violence, but never someone's whole life. That was a different category. That was the thing you only gave to someone you believed wouldn't break it. When did you leave home? He said. 12 days ago. You've been on your own for 12 days. I had money saved. Emma touched the backpack. Mom left me some. I took buses. She looked at him. I was careful. Marcus believed her. An 8-year-old who could sit in a diner for 2 hours watching for a man she'd never seen. Who could warn him about poison in his food. Who could look at him now with eyes that didn't ask for pity or comfort, just acknowledgement. That was someone who'd learned to be careful. The front door of the diner opened. Cold air came in with 2 men. They weren't local. Marcus knew it in the first 3 seconds. Wrong boots, wrong jackets, wrong way of moving. Their eyes scanned the room, not looking around, looking for. Marcus set his coffee cup down slowly. Emma, he said quietly, don't turn around. Don't look at them. Look at me. She did. We're going to stand up in about 10 seconds, he said. We're going to walk toward the bathroom hallway. There's a back exit next to the mop closet. We go through that. Okay, okay. She said it like she'd done this before. That bothered Marcus. He filed it away. He stood, put a hand on Emma's shoulder, walked them both toward the back of the diner. He didn't look at the two men, looking signals awareness. He moved like a man who needed the restroom. He heard one of them say something to the waitress, heard her start to answer, heard the words sitting right there. He pushed Emma through the back exit, cold Montana air, gravel lot behind the diner, propane tanks, dumpster. His motorcycle was out front. No good. They'd have eyes on the front. Back wall, Marcus said. When I say run, you get to my bike and you get on the back. You hold on and you don't let go. Understand, yes. You ever been on a motorcycle number? First time for everything. He moved them along the back wall. At the corner, he stopped, looked around the edge. One man was already outside scanning the lot, hand near his jacket, not reaching yet, just ready. Marcus made the decision fast. He covered the distance in 4 seconds. The man turned. Marcus drove his elbow into the man's nose before the hand could become anything else. The man dropped. Something fell from his pocket, not a gun, a phone. Marcus grabbed it. The screen was still lit. He looked at it for 1 second and felt everything shift again. His photograph, his face, and below it, an address. Sarah Kane, Spokane, Washington. His sister's address. Marcus stared at it. Rick Vargas wasn't just trying to kill him. He was mapping his people, his family, his route. The poison was the quiet move. Now that it failed, nothing that came next would be quiet. Emma was already at the bike. Marcus pocketed the phone and ran. He had the engine started in 3 seconds. Emma was on the back and 4 arms locked around him like she'd been told to never let go. He pulled out of the lot on gravel, hit the road, and opened it up. 2 miles out, he checked the mirrors. Headlights appeared, then disappeared at the next turn. Not following, not yet. At the edge of Havre, he pulled into a gas station and let the engine idle. Emma was still holding on. He could feel her breathing against his back. Steady, not panicked. You good, he said. Yes. He checked the mirrors again. Nothing. He pulled out the phone he'd taken, looked at the photograph of himself, at his sister's address, at a second location listed below it, a motel in Billings where he'd stayed 6 nights ago. They'd been tracking him for days. Rick Vargas didn't work cheap. Whoever hired him had money and patience, and a reason that went 3 years back. Marcus knew who that was. Gerald Purcell, former treasurer of the Hells Angels chapter. Marcus had left. A man Marcus had exposed for stealing from families who'd lost people in a road accident Purcell had caused. Marcus had made Purcell pay every family back. He'd been convincing about it. 2 weeks later, Marcus had walked away from the Angels entirely. He'd thought that was the end. Apparently, Purcell had been thinking about it for 3 years, building patience, waiting for the right moment. And now that moment had arrived. Marcus looked at Emma in the side mirror. Her face was pale but calm, like she was waiting for him to tell her what comes next. He turned around on the seat. I need you to tell me something, he said, and I need it to be true. Okay. How did you know to warn me back there? How did you know to look for me? Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Mom told me you'd be in danger. She said people from your old life might try to hurt you. She said if I found you, I should watch out for you. She paused. She said you were good at keeping yourself alive, but that sometimes good people miss things. Marcus felt something in his chest that he didn't have a name for. 22 years ago, he'd walked away from Rebecca because he wasn't ready to stop being what he was. And she'd carried his child, raised her alone, taught her about him, sent her to find him. And now that child had just saved his life. Did your mom say anything else about me? Marcus said. Emma nodded. She said you used to be scary. Then she said actually you still were scary, but that you were the good kind. Marcus looked at this 8-year-old girl with her red jacket and her backpack. This child who'd been on her own for 12 days looking for a man whose name was on a piece of paper, who'd sat in a diner for 2 hours watching, who'd warned him about poison, who'd followed him through a back exit without question. Rebecca had raised something tougher than most adults Marcus had known. "All right," he said, "here is what we're going to do." He pulled out his own phone, burner, changed every 6 weeks, dialed a number he hadn't dialed in 3 years. It rang 4 times. Then someone picked up. "Who's this?" a voice said. "You know who this is," Marcus said. "I need a face-to-face with Purcell. Tomorrow morning, you tell him if he doesn't show, the next conversation I have is with a federal agent in Billings who's been very interested in 3-year-old financial records." He listened. The voice on the other end was quiet, then where? "He knows where I am," Marcus said. "He's been watching for days. He can pick the spot." He hung up. Emma was watching him from the back of the bike. "Are we going to meet him?" "Yeah. Is he the one who wants to hurt you?" "Yeah. Are you scared?" Marcus looked at her, 8 years old, asking him if he was scared. "No," he said, "but I'm careful. There's a difference." They rode south for 2 hours, stayed off main roads. Marcus had a contact in Malta, a man named Travis who ran a tire shop and owed Marcus a favor from 5 years back that had never been collected. Travis opened the back room without questions. Space heater, couch. His wife brought sandwiches and didn't make conversation. Marcus appreciated both things equally. Emma ate her sandwich in 6 bites. Then she sat with the backpack in her lap and looked at the door. "Are those men going to find us?" she said. "Not tonight," Marcus said. "But they'll try tomorrow. Why do they want to hurt you? Because 3 years ago I made someone do the right thing. And some people don't forgive that." Emma thought about that. "What did you make them do?" "Give money back that they stole. Money that belonged to families who'd lost people." "Did it work?" "Yeah, they gave it back." "Then why are they still mad?" Marcus almost smiled again. "Because I made them look weak. And some men would rather die than look weak." Emma nodded like that made sense, like she'd already learned that particular truth about the world. "My mom said you always did the right thing," Emma said. "She said it just took you a while sometimes to figure out what it was." Marcus looked at this child, this piece of Rebecca that was still here, still asking questions, still looking at him with eyes that expected honesty. "Your mom wasn't wrong," he said. He sat in the chair across from the couch all night, facing the door, not sleeping, thinking about Rebecca, about 22 years, about a piece of paper with his name on it, about a little girl on 12 days of buses looking for a stranger her mother had trusted with her whole life. Gerald Purcell showed up at 9 the next morning. They met at a gas station 20 miles outside Malta. Open ground, nowhere to hide anything you didn't want seen. Purcell stepped out of a silver SUV, hands in his coat pockets, looking at Marcus the way you look at something that won't stay gone. Emma waited at the far end of the lot. Marcus had told her to stay by the air pump. She'd said okay, and he'd believed her. "This is done," Marcus said. "Whatever you hired Vargas for, call it off." Purcell smiled with just his mouth. "I don't know anyone named that," "Don't," Marcus said. "I've got Vargas's phone. I've got his texts. I've got a cook in Havre who's had 3 days to decide whether talking helps him. You don't want to stand here and argue about what I have." Purcell was quiet. "Here's what I want," Marcus said. "You call off every piece of it. You leave me alone. In exchange, I don't make that call to Billings. That's it. That's it. That's it." Purcell looked at him for a long time. Then he looked past Marcus toward Emma at the air pump. "Who's the kid?" he said. "Nobody you need to think about." Purcell did his mouth smile again. "You've gone soft, Kane," maybe Marcus said. Purcell got back in the SUV, drove away without another word. Marcus stood there for a moment, just breathing. Men like Purcell didn't honor agreements because they agreed. They honored them when the math stopped making sense. The threat of federal attention was real. 3 years of careful insulation didn't survive that kind of scrutiny. Keeping Marcus alive cost less than blowing everything up. He walked back to where Emma was standing. She held out half a candy bar she'd gotten from the vending machine. He took it. They stood there eating for a moment. "Is it over?" Emma said. "For now." "What does for now mean?" "It means we're safe today, and I'm going to make sure we're safe tomorrow too." And the day after that, Marcus looked at her. 8 years old, already understanding that safety wasn't permanent, that it was something you had to keep building. "Yeah," he said. And the day after that, "Where are we going?" "You said Oregon, right? Your mom had a friend there." Emma nodded. She said if things got bad, I could go there. She said her name was Catherine Morales. She lives in Bend. Then Oregon's where we're going. They pulled out of Malta on a morning that had turned cold and bright. The road stretched ahead through open country, grass and distance and sky. Nothing else. Emma held on with both arms. After the first hour, Marcus felt the change in her grip, the stiffness going out of her shoulders, like she'd made a decision somewhere in the first 60 miles and set something down. She'd been carrying too much for too long. 12 days alone. Grief she'd kept flat and factual because that was the only way to hold it. The weight of a piece of paper with a stranger's name and a direction and nothing else. Around the 2-hour mark, she leaned her head against his back. Marcus didn't comment on it. He thought about Rebecca, about a sick woman sitting at a table with a piece of paper writing the name of someone she hadn't seen in 22 years. Because when she looked at everything she had, that name was the most solid thing she could offer. He thought about the year they'd had together, about the morning she told him she wasn't built for his kind of life, how he'd understood without argument, how they'd parted without anger. Just two people who'd found each other for a while and then hadn't. He hadn't known she was pregnant. She hadn't said. Maybe she hadn't been sure. Maybe she'd never planned to say anything. But she'd been sure enough at the end, sure enough to write his name down, sure enough to send Emma through 12 days of buses and strangers with a broken zipper and a backpack toward a man she'd been told to trust. Marcus had spent 3 years calling it retirement, calling it riding away. Maybe that's what it had been. Or maybe the road had been pointing him somewhere all along, and he just hadn't known what the destination looked like until a small girl put her hand on a counter and said 4 words. "Don't eat that." He rode. Emma held on. The sky ahead was wet and bright, and for the first time in 3 years, Marcus Kane wasn't moving away from anything. He was riding toward what came next. They crossed into Idaho just before noon. The landscape changed from open Montana grassland to rolling hills covered in pine. The air got colder. Marcus stopped at a rest area to let Emma stretch her legs and use the restroom. When she came out, she was carrying her backpack like always. Never let it out of sight. Marcus understood that. When everything you own fits in one bag, you don't leave it places. "You hungry?" he said. "A little. There's a town about 40 miles west. We'll get food." They sat at a picnic table while a family with 3 kids loaded into a minivan. The mother was trying to buckle a toddler who kept arching in his back. The father was on his phone. The oldest kid was crying about something Marcus couldn't hear. Normal family problems, the kind that didn't involve poison or hired killers or daughters you didn't know you had. Emma watched them. Her face didn't show anything, but Marcus could feel her watching. The way you watch something you recognize, but don't have. "Your mom," Marcus said. "What was she like?" Emma looked down at the table, picked at a splinter in the wood. "She was strong," Emma said. "She worked at a hospital, night shift mostly. She'd come home when I was getting ready for school. She always made me breakfast, even when she was tired." She paused. She didn't complain. Even when she got sick, she didn't complain. "How long was she sick?" 2 years, but she didn't tell me it was bad until the last 6 months. She said she didn't want me to worry. Marcus thought about that, about Rebecca keeping the weight of dying to herself so her 8-year-old daughter could still be 8. "She sounds like she was good at taking care of you." Emma nodded. "She was good at everything. She could fix things. When our sink broke, she fixed it. When my bike chain came off, she showed me how to put it back." She looked up at Marcus. "She said you were like that too. She said you could fix anything if you had the right tools." Marcus didn't know what to say to that. He'd fixed a lot of things, most of them with his hands, some of them with violence. He wasn't sure Rebecca would have meant it as a compliment, but Emma seemed to. Did she ever, Marcus started? Did she ever say why she didn't tell me about you? Emma was quiet for a moment, long enough that Marcus thought she wasn't going to answer. Then she said it wasn't fair to make you choose. She said you had a life that mattered to you, and she didn't want to take that away. What if I'd wanted to choose? Emma looked at him with those steady eyes that were starting to look more like his than he wanted to admit. She said you would have chosen us, Emma said, and then you would have spent the rest of your life wondering what you gave up. She didn't want you to wonder. Marcus sat there. The family with 3 kids was pulling out of the parking lot now. The toddler had stopped crying. The father was driving. The mother was turned around in her seat saying something to the kids in back. Rebecca had made a decision 22 years ago. She'd carried it alone, raised a daughter alone, worked night shifts and fixed sinks and taught Emma how to put a bike chain back on. All of it without asking Marcus for anything. And then at the end, when she knew she was dying, she'd written his name on a piece of paper. Not because she needed him, because Emma would. I would have chosen you, Marcus said. Emma looked at him. If she'd told me, Marcus said, I would have chosen you both. I know, Emma said. That's why she didn't tell you. They rode another 40 miles to a town called Salmon. Population 3,000, 1 main street, 3 restaurants. Marcus picked the one that looked like it had been there longest. Small places that survived in small towns usually survived because the food was good. They sat in a booth by the window. Emma ordered pancakes. Marcus ordered coffee and a burger. The waitress was in her 20s, friendly in the way people are when they're genuinely happy to see you. Cute kid, she said to Marcus. She looks just like you. Marcus didn't correct her. Emma didn't either. When the food came, Emma ate half her pancakes and then stopped. Pushed the plate away. You okay, Marcus said. I'm full. You barely ate anything. I'm not used to eating a lot. That bothered Marcus more than it should have. An 8-year-old who wasn't used to eating a lot meant an 8-year-old who'd learned to manage on less, who'd learned to stretch food and make things last. When did you eat last? Before the diner yesterday. Emma thought about it. The day before that, on the bus, I had crackers. Marcus flagged the waitress. Can you box up these pancakes? Sure thing. He paid the check. They walked back to the bike. Emma put the box in her backpack carefully, like it was valuable. Marcus made a decision then. Not a big one, just a shift in direction. We're going to need supplies, he said. For the road, there's a store across the street. The store was called Harvey's General, sold everything from fishing tackle to groceries to camping gear. Marcus walked Emma through the aisles. Pick out what you need, he said. Like what clothes? A jacket that zips? Anything else? Emma looked at him like she didn't understand. Go ahead, Marcus said. She moved slowly at first, picked up a jacket, put it back, picked up another one. This time she held on to it. Then she found a pair of jeans, a sweatshirt, socks. Marcus added a sleeping bag, a small backpack that wasn't falling apart, a first aid kit, water bottles, energy bars. At the register, Emma watched the total climb. Her face got tighter with each number. It's okay, Marcus said. It's too much. No, he said. It's not. He paid cash, helped Emma load everything into the saddlebags on the bike. She put on the new jacket, blue with a working zipper. She zipped it up and down twice like she was testing it. Thank you, she said. You're welcome. They were loading the last bag when Marcus's phone rang. The burner. Only 3 people had the number. Travis was one. The second was a lawyer in Billings who handled things Marcus needed handled quietly. The third was his sister, Sarah. It was Sarah, Marcus, she said. Her voice was tight. Wrong. What's wrong? There's someone watching my house. Since when? 2 days. Silver sedan. Parks across the street. Different times. Same car. Marcus felt his chest go cold. He looked at Emma. She was adjusting the straps on her new backpack, not listening. You call the police and say what someone's parking on a public street. Is the car there now? No. But Marcus, I'm scared. This isn't normal. I know, he said. Listen to me. Pack a bag. Go to Linda's. Right now. Don't tell anyone where you're going. I'll call you in 2 hours. Marcus, what's happening? I'll explain later. Just go now. He hung up, looked at the bike, at Emma, at the road ahead that he thought was taking them west to Oregon. That road had just changed direction. Change of plans, he said. Emma looked up. Where are we going, Spokane? My sister's in trouble. They rode hard for 6 hours. Marcus stopped only for gas. Emma didn't ask questions. She held on and watched the landscape change from Idaho forest to Washington farmland to the outskirts of Spokane. Marcus called Sarah twice. The first time she answered from Linda's house. Safe for now. The second time she didn't answer at all. That was a problem. He tried 3 more times. No answer. He pulled into a gas station on the east side of Spokane. Tried again. Voicemail. Emma was watching him. Is she okay? I don't know. What are we going to do? Find her. Sarah lived in a neighborhood called Hilliard, north side of the city, small houses built in the 1940s. Working class. Sarah had bought hers 12 years ago when her husband was still alive. She'd stayed after he died because she liked the neighbors and the mortgage was almost paid off. Marcus parked 2 blocks away, told Emma to stay with the bike. I want to come, she said. No, why not? Because if something's wrong, I need to know you're safe. Emma looked at him. 8 years old, already understanding what that meant. Okay, she said. I'll be back in 10 minutes. If I'm not, you ride to the police station. It's 4 blocks south. You tell them your name and you tell them to call Linda Prescott. You got that? Yes. Say it back. 4 blocks south. Police station, Linda Prescott. Good. Marcus walked the 2 blocks to Sarah's house. The silver sedan wasn't there. The street was quiet. A dog barked somewhere. A lawnmower ran 3 houses down. Sarah's house looked normal. Lights off. Car in the driveway. Nothing out of place. Marcus went around back. The kitchen door was unlocked. That wasn't like Sarah. She locked everything. He pushed it open slowly. Listened. Nothing. Sarah. He called. No answer. He moved through the kitchen. Living room. Hallway. Nothing disturbed. Nothing out of place. Sarah's purse was on the hall table. Her phone was next to it. She left without her phone. That meant she hadn't left by choice. Marcus was turning back toward the kitchen when he saw it. On the coffee table, a piece of paper. Folded once, he opened it. We have your sister. You know what we want. Loan for road mile marker 14. The warehouse with the blue door. Come alone. Midnight. You don't show. She doesn't leave. No signature. Didn't need one. Marcus looked at his watch. 7:30. 4.5 hours. He walked back to the bike. Emma was sitting on the curb, backpack in her lap, watching the street like she was on guard duty. Is she there? Emma said. No, where is she? Somewhere I need to go get her. Can I come? Marcus looked at this 8-year-old girl who'd been on the road for 12 days, who'd saved his life, who'd followed him 600 miles without complaint, who was looking at him now like she already knew the answer and was asking anyway. No, he said. This one I have to do alone. Emma's face didn't change, but something in her eyes did. Not disappointment, recognition. Like she'd expected this. Where will I go? There's a motel 2 miles from here. I'll get you a room. You'll be safe there. For how long? Marcus didn't answer that, because the honest answer was he didn't know. If this went wrong, he wouldn't be coming back. And then Emma would be alone again in a motel room in a city she didn't know with nobody coming. He couldn't leave her like that. He pulled out his phone, called Linda Prescott, Sarah's best friend, a woman Marcus had met twice and trusted because Sarah trusted her. Linda answered on the second ring. Marcus, Sarah said she was coming over, but she never showed up. I'm worried. I know where she is, Marcus said. I'm going to get her, but I need a favor. What I need you to watch someone for me. Just for tonight. Can you do that? There was a pause, then, her name's Emma. She's 8. She's been through a lot. She just needs somewhere safe, Marcus. What's going on? I'll explain everything later. Right now, I just need to know. Can you do this? Another pause. Yes. Where are you? He gave her the address. Told her he'd wait. 20 minutes later, Linda pulled up in a blue Honda. She was 50-something, gray hair kind face. The kind of person you could tell was good just by looking at them. She got out of the car and looked at Emma, then at Marcus. This is Emma, Marcus said. Emma, this is Linda. She's a friend of my sister's. You're going to stay with her tonight. Emma looked at Linda, then back at Marcus. You're coming back, she said. It wasn't a question. Yeah, Marcus said. I'm coming back. Promise. Marcus looked at this little girl who'd already lost everyone else, who was standing here asking him to promise something he couldn't guarantee. I promise, he said. Emma held his eyes for a moment. Then she nodded, picked up her backpack, walked to Linda's car. Linda looked at Marcus. You better keep that promise. I will. She got in the car. They drove away. Emma watched Marcus through the back window until they turned the corner. Marcus stood there for a moment. Then he got on the bike and headed for Lone Fir Road. The warehouse was exactly where the note said it would be. Mile marker 14, blue door, gravel lot. No other cars visible, but that didn't mean anything. They'd be parked around back. Marcus was early, 11:15. He parked the bike half a mile down the road, walked the rest of the way through the trees, came at the warehouse from the side. 3 windows, all dark. 1 door in front, 1 in back. The back door was newer, recently installed. That meant it was the one they used. Marcus circled the building twice, counted 4 men outside, 2 by the back door, 2 patrolling the perimeter, all carrying, all alert. Inside, there would be more. And Sarah. He checked his phone, 11:40, 20 minutes. He could wait until midnight, walk in the front door like they expected, hope they'd honor the deal, hope they'd let Sarah go if he showed up. But hope wasn't a plan, and Gerald Purcell had already tried to poison him once. A man who tries poison doesn't suddenly develop honor. Marcus made a different choice. At 11:55, he moved. The 2 men by the back door never saw him coming. Marcus had learned to move quiet 30 years ago. In the Angels, quiet was the difference between getting what you wanted and getting dead. The first man dropped without a sound. The second one tried to turn. Marcus had his arm around the man's throat before he could make noise. 10 seconds later, both men were on the ground. Marcus took the gun from the first one, checked the magazine, full, good. He opened the back door slowly. Hallway, lights at the far end. Voices. He moved down the hallway. The voices got clearer. You said he'd be here by midnight. That was Purcell. He'll be here. That was someone else. Younger. Nervous. He better be. We've been sitting here for 3 hours. Marcus reached the end of the hallway, looked around the corner, large open room, old warehouse space. Sarah was in a chair in the middle, hands tied behind her. She looked scared but unharmed. 3 men in the room with her. Purcell was one. The other 2 were hired. You could tell by the way they stood, by the way they kept looking at Purcell for direction. Marcus checked his watch. Midnight. He stepped into the room. Everyone turned. I'm here, Marcus said. Purcell smiled. So you are. Let her go. We had a deal, Marcus. You were supposed to come alone. I did come alone. Then why do I have 2 men unconscious by my back door? Marcus didn't answer that. Purcell's smile got wider. You know what your problem is, Kane? You think being good at violence makes you special. But violence is easy. Any idiot can hurt people. He gestured around the room. What's hard is building something, creating something that lasts. You mean stealing from families who lost people? I mean understanding that money goes to whoever's smart enough to take it. You weren't smart enough to keep it. No, Purcell said. Thanks to you, you cost me 3 years of peace, cost me standing in the chapter, cost me respect. So now I'm going to cost you something. He pulled a gun, pointed it at Sarah. Marcus raised the gun he'd taken, pointed it at Purcell. Mexican standoff, except Purcell had 3 men and Marcus had none. You shoot me. Purcell said they shoot you, you both die. Sarah dies. Nobody wins. Then don't make me shoot you. Oh, I'm not going to. Purcell lowered his gun slightly, pointed it at Sarah's leg instead. I'm going to shoot her. Just a little. Just enough that you understand the price of making people look weak. Don't, Marcus said. Purcell's finger moved to the trigger. The blue door exploded inward. Everyone turned. Travis stood in the doorway. 2 men with him, both holding shotguns. Put it down, Gerald Travis said. Purcell didn't move. This isn't your business, Travis. You made it my business when you started tracking my friends. Marcus kept his gun on Purcell. Purcell kept his on Sarah. The 2 hired men kept theirs on Marcus. Travis's 2 men kept theirs on everyone. 7 guns in one room. Somebody was going to die. Question was, who? Let her go, Marcus said. This is between us. Purcell looked at Travis, at his 2 men, at Marcus. The math was changing. 3 against 5. And Travis's men had shotguns. Purcell lowered his gun. Marcus didn't lower his. Untie her, Marcus said. One of Purcell's men moved towards Sarah. Cut the zip ties. She stood up, walked to Marcus without looking back. You should have stayed retired, Kane Purcell said. I did, Marcus said. You're the one who couldn't let it go. He backed toward the door. Sarah first, then Travis and his men. Then Marcus. Nobody fired. Sometimes that's all you can ask for. Outside, Marcus got Sarah into Travis's truck. Travis looked at him. We square now, Travis said. More than square, Marcus said. Where'd you find the backup? I made a call after you called your sister. Figured you'd need it. You figured right. Travis got in his truck. Marcus got on his bike. They drove away from the warehouse in opposite directions. By the time Purcell came outside, they were gone. Marcus rode straight to Linda's house. It was 1 a.m. Every light in the house was on. Linda answered the door. She looked scared, Marcus. Emma, she's been asking for you every 10 minutes. Where is she? Guest room. Marcus walked down the hall. Emma was sitting on the bed, still wearing her jacket, backpack in her lap, like she'd been ready to leave the whole time. When she saw Marcus, something changed in her face. Not relief, something bigger than that. Like a weight she'd been holding finally got set down. You came back, she said. I told you I would. Emma nodded. People say that, though. They say they will, and then they don't. Marcus sat down on the bed next to her. I'm not people, he said. When I make a promise to you, I keep it. Emma looked at him. 8 years old, testing whether that was true. Is your sister okay? She's okay. Are the bad men gone? For now. Emma processed that. Then she said, you promised you'd keep me safe all the days, including tomorrow. Yeah. Then I'm going to need you to promise more things, because I don't think the bad men are really gone. Marcus looked at this child, this piece of Rebecca, who could see through things the way Rebecca used to, who understood that for now meant not forever. You're right, Marcus said. They're not gone, not all the way. But I'm working on it. How do you make them gone all the way? You make them more scared of what happens if they come back than they are angry about what already happened. How do you do that? I don't know yet, Marcus said. But I'll figure it out. Emma nodded, like that was good enough. They stayed at Linda's house for 3 days. Sarah needed time. Emma needed time. Marcus needed time to think. On the 4th day, he made a decision. He called a number he'd never called before, a federal agent in Billings named Carson, who'd been trying to build a case against Hell's Angels financial operations for 6 years. Marcus had never talked to him, never wanted to. Talking to federal agents was how you ended up dead. But some things mattered more than staying alive. Agent Carson answered on the 2nd ring. Who's this? Someone with information on Jarrell Purcell. There was a pause. I'm listening. Marcus told him everything. The theft from the families, the accounting records, where Purcell kept his books, the names of 3 people who could verify it if immunity was offered. He talked for 40 minutes. When he finished, Carson was quiet for a long time. Why now, Carson said. Why are you telling me this now? Because I have something that matters more than old debts, Marcus said. What's that? Someone who needs me alive. Carson said he'd be in touch. Marcus hung up. He didn't know if it would work, but he knew he'd done what he could. The next morning, he and Emma left for Oregon. Sarah stood on the porch and watched them go. Linda was next to her. You think he'll be okay? Linda said. Sarah smiled. He's got someone to protect now. He'll be better than okay. They rode west. The road opened up into high desert, then mountains, then forest again. Emma didn't ask where they were going anymore. She just held on. On the second day, Marcus's phone rang. Carson. We picked up Purcell this morning, Carson said. Accounting records were exactly where you said. 3 people already flipped for immunity. He's looking at 15 years minimum. He say anything about me? He said a lot of things, none of them useful. The threats over Marcus. Whatever he had running, it died when we arrested him. Marcus exhaled for the first time in a week. Thank you, he said. Thank you, Carson said. We've been trying to get this guy for years. Marcus hung up, pulled over to the side of the road. Emma looked at him. What happened? It's done, he said. The bad men are gone, all the way. Emma didn't smile, but something in her shoulders relaxed, like she'd been carrying weight there too. They rode the rest of the day, made it to Bend, Oregon by evening. Catherine Morales lived in a small house on the east side of town, garden in front, wind chimes on the porch, the kind of place Rebecca would have loved. Marcus knocked. A woman in her 60s answered, gray hair pulled back, kind eyes. Yes, she said. My name's Marcus Kane. This is Emma Walsh. Rebecca sent her. Catherine's face changed. She looked at Emma, then at Marcus, then back at Emma. Oh, honey, she said. Come inside. They sat in her living room. Catherine made tea. Emma told her about Rebecca, about the cancer, about the piece of paper with Marcus's name, about the 12 days of buses. Catherine cried, quietly, the way people cry when they've lost someone they loved. I'm so sorry, she said to Emma. Your mother was one of the best people I ever knew. I know, Emma said. Catherine looked at Marcus. And you're going to take care of her. Yes, Rebecca trusted you that much. Marcus thought about that, about 22 years, about the decision Rebecca had made, about sending Emma to find him. Yeah, he said. She did. Catherine nodded. Then you can stay here as long as you need. They stayed 2 weeks, long enough for Emma to have a space that felt like home, long enough for Marcus to figure out next steps. On the last day, Marcus sat with Catherine on the porch while Emma was inside packing. You know you don't have to do this, Catherine said. I can take care of her. I'd be happy to. I know, Marcus said. But Rebecca sent her to me, not you. Why do you think that was? Because she knew Emma would need more than someone kind. She'd need someone who could protect her from the things being kind doesn't stop. Catherine looked at him. You love her already, don't you? Marcus didn't answer right away. Then he said, I didn't know I could. That evening they left. Emma hugged Catherine goodbye, promised to write. They rode north, out of Bend, through the mountains, following the road wherever it led. Emma leaned her head against Marcus's back like she always did now. Where are we going, she said. I don't know yet, Marcus said. Where do you want to go? Somewhere with you. Marcus felt something in his chest. Something that had been broken for a long time starting to mend. Then that's where we'll go, he said. They rode until the sun started setting, pulled off at a lookout point, stood at the edge and watched the sky turn orange and red and purple. Emma stood next to him, not touching, just there. You know what Mom used to say, Emma said. What? She said the thing about sunsets is they always come back, even when everything else changes. Marcus looked at this 8-year-old girl, this piece of Rebecca, this person he hadn't known existed 2 weeks ago and couldn't imagine living without now. Your mom was right, he said. They stood there watching until the sun disappeared. Then they got back on the bike and rode into the dark, toward whatever came next, together. Marcus found the house 3 weeks later, small place outside Sisters, Oregon, 20 miles from Bend, 2 bedrooms, porch that wrapped around 3 sides, mountains visible from every window. It needed work. Roof had 2 years left maybe. Kitchen was 40 years old. Bathroom older than that. But the bones were good, and the price was right for a man paying cash who didn't ask questions. Emma walked through it twice, looked at everything. The second bedroom had windows on 2 walls. Good light. This could be mine, she said, if you want it. She stood in the middle of the empty room, turned in a circle like she was measuring it. Yeah, she said, I want it. Marcus signed papers that afternoon. The seller was a woman in her 70s whose husband had died. She'd been trying to sell for 6 months. You have kids, she asked Marcus. One, he said. A daughter. The woman smiled. This is a good house for kids. My 3 grew up here. She paused. You take care of it, it'll take care of you. I will, Marcus said. They moved in 2 days later. Everything they owned fit in the saddlebags on Marcus's bike and Emma's backpack. It took one trip. That first night they slept on the floor. Marcus in the living room. Emma in her room. No furniture yet, no dishes, no anything except 2 sleeping bags from Harvey's General and a flashlight. Marcus woke up at 2 in the morning. Emma was standing in the doorway. You okay, he said. I had a dream about Mom. Good dream or bad dream? She was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't hear her. Marcus sat up, turned on the flashlight. What do you think she was trying to say? Emma came and sat next to him. She was quiet for a moment. I think she was saying it's okay, that this is okay. Marcus looked at this 8-year-old sitting on the floor in an empty house in the middle of the night trying to make sense of her mother's death and her new life. Your mom was smart, he said. If she was saying it's okay, then it's okay. Do you think she knew that you'd take care of me? Marcus thought about Rebecca, about the piece of paper, about sending Emma across 3 states to find him. Yeah, he said, she knew. Emma nodded. Then she lay down next to him, used his arm as a pillow. 2 minutes later, she was asleep. Marcus stayed awake, looking at the ceiling, thinking about promises. The next morning, he started fixing the house. Roof first, kitchen second, bathroom third. Emma helped, held tools, handed him nails, learned what a level was and why it mattered. She was good at it, careful, focused, the way Rebecca had apparently been good at fixing things. By the end of the first month, the house was livable. Furniture from a thrift store in Bend, dishes from Goodwill. Emma's room had a bed, a desk, a lamp shaped like a dinosaur she'd picked out herself. She put her backpack in the closet. First time since Marcus met her that she'd set it down somewhere that wasn't next to her. That was progress. School started in September. Marcus enrolled Emma at Sisters Elementary, 3rd grade. The principal asked about her previous school. Marcus said they'd been moving around. The principal didn't push it. Emma's teacher was named Mrs. Vega, young, enthusiastic, the kind of teacher who decorated her classroom and knew all her students' names by the second day. She called Marcus after the first week. Emma's doing fine academically, Mrs. Vega said, but she doesn't interact with the other kids much. She sits alone at lunch. She doesn't raise her hand even when I can tell she knows the answer. She's been through a lot recently, Marcus said. I understand. I just wanted you to know. If there's anything I can do to help her feel more comfortable, I'll talk to her. That night at dinner, Marcus asked Emma about school. It's fine, she said. Mrs. Vega says you don't talk to the other kids. I don't have anything to say to them. You don't want friends? Emma pushed food around her plate. The kids at school, they talk about things that don't matter. Whose birthday party they're going to, what they're getting for Christmas. Stuff like that. That stuff matters to them. but it doesn't matter to me. She looked up. I know what matters and what doesn't, and birthday parties don't. Marcus understood. Emma had learned things most kids don't learn until they're adults. About loss, about survival, about who you can trust. Going back to talking about birthday parties after that was like asking her to speak a language she'd forgotten. You don't have to be like them, Marcus said, but you also don't have to be alone. Emma thought about that. Okay, she said. The next week, Mrs. Vega called again. She sounded happier this time. Emma made a friend, she said, a girl named Riley. They've been eating lunch together all week. That's good, Marcus said. I thought you'd want to know. When Emma came home that day, Marcus asked about Riley. She's okay, Emma said. She doesn't ask stupid questions. What kind of questions does she ask smart ones? Like why tornadoes spin the way they do, and whether you can train a raven to talk. Those are good questions, I know. That's why I like her. Progress. By October, the house felt like home. Emma had decorations on her walls, drawings she'd made, a calendar where she marked off days, a jar where she saved money from helping Marcus with repair jobs around town. Word had gotten around that Marcus was good with his hands. People started calling, fix a deck, replace a window, install a ceiling fan. Marcus didn't advertise, didn't need to. In a small town, being reliable was better than advertising. He brought Emma with him sometimes when the job was safe. She learned about different woods, about load-bearing walls, about why you always turned off the power before touching electrical. You're good at this, she told him one day. Your mom said I could fix anything with the right tools. She was right. They were working on a porch railing when Emma said, "Are you going to tell me about the Hells Angels?" Marcus hammered a nail, didn't look up. What do you want to know? Why you joined? Why you left? Why do you think Mom said you were looking for something? She said you didn't find it there, so you kept looking. She was right about that too. Did you find it? Marcus looked at Emma. 8 years old, 9 in November, asking questions that most adults didn't have the courage to ask. Yeah, he said. I found it. What was it? Something worth protecting. Emma smiled, small but real. That night, Marcus got a call from Agent Carson. Purcell's going away for 18 years, Carson said. Federal judge. Threw the book at him. That's good. Also picked up Rick Vargas. He flipped on 3 other contracts. Turns out hiring someone to poison a federal witness was the least of his problems. He mentioned me only to say the contract's void. You're clear, Marcus. Officially. Marcus thanked him. Hung up. Emma was doing homework at the kitchen table. She looked up. Who was that? Someone telling me we're safe. Like all the way safe. Yeah, all the way. Emma went back to her homework, but Marcus saw her shoulders relax. November came, Emma's 9th birthday. Marcus asked what she wanted to do. I don't know, she said. I never really had birthday parties. Never. Mom worked a lot. We usually just had cake at home. Just us. Marcus thought about that, about Rebecca working night shifts and coming home tired and still making her daughter birthday cake. Well, he said, what if we did something different this year? Like what? Whatever you want. Emma thought about it for a long time. Then she said, can we visit Mom's grave? Yeah, Marcus said. We can do that. They rode to Bend on a Saturday morning. Catherine met them at the cemetery. She brought flowers. Rebecca's grave was under a pine tree. Simple headstone. Rebecca Walsh, beloved mother. The dates of her life carved beneath. Emma stood there for a long time, not crying, just standing. Marcus stood next to her, not touching, just there. Catherine put the flowers down. She looked at Marcus. Rebecca would be proud, she said, of both of you. How do you know? Emma said. Because I knew your mother for 20 years. And I know what mattered to her. She gestured at Marcus. She wanted you to be safe, and you are. She wanted you to have someone who'd protect you, and you do. She paused. That's all she wanted, Emma. Emma nodded, wiped her eyes. They stayed for an hour. Emma talked to the grave like Rebecca was there listening. Told her about school, about Riley, about the house, about Marcus fixing things. Marcus stood back, gave her space. When they left, Emma said, "Can we come back?" "Whenever you want," Marcus said. Once a month, yeah, once a month, they made it a routine. First Saturday of every month, ride to Bend, visit the grave, have lunch with Catherine. By Christmas, Emma had changed. Not in ways most people would notice, but Marcus noticed. She smiled more, talked more, stopped carrying her backpack everywhere. Mrs. Vega called it growth. Marcus called it healing. Riley came over for a sleepover in January. First time Emma had invited anyone. They built a fort in Emma's room, made popcorn, watched movies. Marcus stayed in the living room, gave them space, but he could hear them laughing. That sound, Emma laughing, was better than anything Marcus had ever heard. Riley's mom picked her up the next morning. She was nice. Asked Marcus how long they'd lived in Sisters. He said about 6 months. She said it was a good place to raise kids. "You've got a great daughter," she said. "Thank you," Marcus said, and meant it. February brought snow. Emma had never seen real snow before. Not like this. 2 feet in one night. She stood on the porch in the morning, just staring. "Can we build something?" she said. "Like what I don't know, something big." They built a snow fort. Took 3 hours. Emma designed it. Marcus executed. When it was done, they had walls 4 feet high and a lookout tower. "This is the best thing I ever made," Emma said. Marcus took a picture. First picture he'd taken in years. That night, Emma asked about Rebecca and Marcus again. "What was she like when you knew her?" Marcus thought about Sturgis. About 3 weeks, that felt like 3 months. About someone who'd been running from something and found someone else running from the same thing. "She was strong," he said. "Like you. She didn't take anything from anybody. She knew what she wanted and what she didn't want, and she wasn't afraid to say it. Did she want you for a while? Yeah, but then she didn't." Marcus shook his head. "She wanted me. She just didn't want the life I came with." "Do you wish things were different?" "Every day," Marcus said. "But wishing doesn't change anything. What changes things is what you do after." "What did you do after I rode away?" "I thought that was the right thing. Turns out it wasn't." Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "If she told you about me, would you have stayed?" "Yeah. Even though you would have missed your old life, I wouldn't have missed it," Marcus said. "Not if I had you," Emma smiled. "I'm glad she didn't tell you, though." "Why? Because if she had, you would have been there for her. And then you might not have been looking for me, and I might not have found you." Marcus looked at this 9-year-old girl who understood things about timing and fate that most people never learn. "You would have found me," he said. "How do you know? Because you're Rebecca's daughter. And Rebecca always found a way." March brought a letter, federal letterhead, Agent Carson. Marcus opened it on the porch. Emma was at school. He read it twice to be sure. Gerald Purcell had died in prison. Heart attack. No foul play suspected. The threat was over. Not just paused, not just delayed. Over. Marcus stood there holding the letter, thinking about 3 years of looking over his shoulder. 3 years of changing phones and moving and never staying anywhere long enough to matter. That was done now. He could stay. When Emma got home from school, he told her. "So we're safe forever," she said. "Nothing's forever," Marcus said. "But yeah, we're safe." Emma hugged him. First time she'd done that, actually hugged him without him hugging first. Marcus held her, this 9-year-old girl who'd saved his life and given him a reason to stop running. April came, then May. The house needed a new fence. Marcus and Emma built it together, post by post. She learned about cement, about making sure things were level, about the difference between good enough and done right. By the time they finished, Emma could sink a post by herself. "You're getting good at this," Marcus said. "I have a good teacher." On the first Saturday in May, they rode to Bend, visited Rebecca's grave. This time, Emma brought her own flowers, dandelions she'd picked from the yard. She stood at the grave and said, "I'm okay, Mom. We're okay." Marcus stood next to her. Catherine stood next to him. She knows, Catherine said. How do you know, Emma asked. Because mothers always know. That night back at the house, Emma asked if she could keep riding the motorcycle. You mean as a passenger? No, I mean learn to ride. You're 9. I'll be 10 soon. Still too young. When I'm 15 then. Maybe. Emma smiled. That's not a no. No, Marcus said. It's not a no. June brought the end of school. Emma finished 3rd grade with straight A's. Mrs. Vega said she was one of the best students she'd ever taught. Riley's family invited them to a barbecue. Marcus went, didn't talk much, but he went. Riley's dad was a teacher at the high school. Nice guy. Asked Marcus about his bike. They talked for 20 minutes about engines and roads and places worth seeing. You should bring Emma up to the lake sometime, Riley's dad said. The girls would love it. Maybe we will, Marcus said. 2 weeks later, they went. Emma and Riley swam, built sandcastles, ate hot dogs, acted like normal 9-year-olds. Marcus sat with Riley's parents, watched, felt something unfamiliar. Contentment. That night, driving home, Emma said, "This is what normal people do, isn't it?" "What do you mean they have friends? They go to lakes, they eat hot dogs." "Yeah," Marcus said. "That's what normal people do." Are we normal now? Marcus thought about that. About Hell's Angels and poison pies and warehouses with blue doors. About a little girl who'd ridden buses for 12 days looking for a stranger. No, he said. We're not normal. Emma looked worried. Is that bad? No, Marcus said. That's perfect. July 4th, the town had a parade. Emma wanted to go. Marcus hadn't been to a parade in 30 years. Hadn't wanted to be around that many people in one place. But Emma wanted to go, so they went. She sat on the curb with Riley, waved at the floats, caught candy thrown from fire trucks, cheered for the high school marching band. Marcus stood behind her, watching. A man next to him said, "That your daughter? Yeah. She looks happy." "She is. You're doing something right then." Marcus looked at Emma, at this 9-year-old who'd lost everything and was learning how to be happy again. I'm trying, Marcus said. August came with a heat wave. Emma learned to ride a bicycle. Marcus taught her, ran next to her holding the seat until she said, "Let go." He let go. She rode, fell twice, got back up both times. By the end of the week, she was riding to Riley's house by herself. Marcus watched from the porch, felt something he hadn't felt in 30 years. Pride. That night, Emma asked, "Are you going to stay?" "What do you mean in sisters?" "In this house with me." Marcus looked at her, this girl who'd given him back something he thought he'd lost forever. "Yeah," he said, "I'm going to stay." Forever as long as you need me. Emma thought about that. What if I always need you? Then I'll always stay. She smiled. Good. September came. 4th grade started. New teacher, new classroom, same Riley. Emma joined the art club. Came home with paintings. Marcus hung every single one. Mrs. Vega called one afternoon. Emma had written an essay about her family. She wanted Marcus to see it. He drove to the school, read it in the hallway. My Family by Emma Walsh. I used to have a small family, just me and my mom. Then my mom died and I didn't have any family. But then I found my dad. He's not like other dads. He rides a motorcycle and he knows how to fix everything. He doesn't talk a lot, but when he promises something, he keeps it. My mom told me to trust him, and she was right. Now my family is small again, but it's good. And that's what matters. Marcus read it 3 times. Mrs. Vega was standing there watching. She's a special kid, she said. I know, Marcus said. You're lucky to have her. Marcus folded the essay carefully, put it in his pocket. I know that too, he said. October brought Emma's 10th birthday. This time she wanted a party. Marcus said okay. They had it at the house, invited Riley and 3 other kids from school. Catherine drove up from Bend. Emma blew out candles on a cake Marcus had tried to make himself. It was lopsided and the frosting was uneven. But Emma said it was perfect. Make a wish, Catherine said. Emma closed her eyes, thought for a moment. Blue. What did you wish for? Riley asked. Can't tell, Emma said, or it won't come true. That night after everyone left, Marcus asked what she'd wished for. Emma smiled. I wish that tomorrow would be like today, and the day after that, and the day after that. Marcus looked at this 10-year-old girl who'd learned that the best thing you could wish for was more of what you already had. I hope it comes true, he said. Me too. November brought the first snow. Emma and Marcus built another fort, bigger than last year's, with tunnels this time. Riley came over. They had a snowball fight, 3 against 1. Marcus against Emma Riley and Riley's little brother. Marcus lost on purpose. Emma knew. She whispered, "You let us win." Maybe Marcus said. She laughed. That sound again. Better every time. December brought Christmas. Emma made a list, not of things she wanted, of things she wanted to do. Visit Mom's grave. Make cookies. Watch It's a Wonderful Life. Build a gingerbread house. They did all of it. On Christmas morning, Marcus gave Emma one present, a leather journal with her initials on the cover. What's it for? She asked. Whatever you want, Marcus said. Writing, drawing, remembering. Emma opened it. The first page had a note from Marcus, for Emma, so you never forget where you came from, or where you're going. Love, Dad. She looked at him, tears in her eyes, but smiling. You called yourself Dad. Is that okay? She hugged him. Yeah, that's okay. January brought cold that didn't quit. Pipes froze. Marcus fixed them. Emma helped. She was good at it now. Could hand him tools without being asked. Knew what came next. You could do this for a living, Marcus said. Maybe I will. They worked in silence for a while. Then Emma said, do you ever miss it? Miss what? Your old life. The motorcycle club. The road. Marcus thought about that. About 30 years of riding, of chapters and rallies and running from things. No, he said, I don't miss any of it. Why not? Because I finally found what I was looking for. What was that home? Emma smiled. Me too. February marked 1 year since Rebecca died. Marcus and Emma rode to Ben, stood at the grave. Emma didn't cry this time, just stood there. Then she said, I think she'd be happy about us, about how things turned out. Catherine put a hand on Emma's shoulder. I know she would be. That night, Marcus sat on the porch. Emma was inside doing homework. Catherine was in the kitchen making tea. Marcus thought about Rebecca, about a piece of paper, about a girl on 12 days of buses, about poison in warehouses and promises, about finding home in the last place he expected. The door opened. Emma came out, sat next to him. What are you thinking about? She said. Your mom. Good things or bad things? Good things? Like what? Like how she knew. Even at the end, she knew exactly what to do. Emma leaned against him. I miss her. I know. Do you miss her? Marcus had loved Rebecca once, a long time ago. For 3 weeks, that felt like 3 months. And then he'd let her go because he wasn't ready to be what she needed. But she'd given him something anyway. Something that would become the most important thing in his life. Yeah, Marcus said, I miss her too. They sat there until the stars came out, until Catherine called them in for dinner, until it was time to stop thinking about what was and start living what is. March brought Emma's first motorcycle lesson, not riding yet, just sitting, learning the controls, understanding the weight. This is going to be mine someday, she said. Yeah, Marcus said, someday. When I'm 15, we'll see. That's still not a no. No, it's not. April brought spring, flowers in the yard Emma had planted, green everywhere, life coming back. Emma turned in another essay at school, this one about courage. Mrs. Vega sent it home with a note. Thought you'd want to see this. Marcus read it on the porch. Courage by Emma Walsh. People think courage is not being scared, but that's not what it is. Courage is being scared and doing it anyway. My dad taught me that. He was scared to be a dad because he'd never done it before. But he did it anyway. And now he's the best dad I know. That's courage. Marcus folded it carefully, put it with the other one in a drawer in his room. Emma found him later. You read it, yeah. What did you think? I think you were wrong about one thing. What I wasn't scared to be your dad. What were you scared of then that I'd mess it up? That I wouldn't be good enough? Emma sat next to him. You didn't mess it up. How do you know? Because I'm happy. And Mom said that's all that mattered. Marcus looked at this 10-year-old girl who'd saved his life in more ways than she knew. Your mom was right, he said. May brought Mother's Day. Emma made a card. Not for Rebecca, for Catherine. Inside it said, thank you for being there when Mom couldn't be. She mailed it to Ben. Catherine called crying, said it was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever given her. June brought summer. Emma finished fourth grade, top of her class. Mrs. Vega said she was ready for anything. Riley's family invited them camping. Marcus said yes without hesitating. They went to the mountains, pitched tents, made fires, told stories. Emma fell asleep in her sleeping bag next to Marcus's. Riley was in the tent next door with her family. Marcus lay there looking at stars, thinking about roads and destinations and the difference between running from and running toward. He'd spent 30 years running from, 3 years running toward without knowing what toward was. Now he knew. Toward was this, a tent in the mountains, a 10-year-old girl sleeping next to him, stars overhead, tomorrow coming whether he was ready or not. He was ready. July came. Emma learned to swim. Marcus taught her at the lake. She was fearless. Dove right in. You're a natural, Riley's dad said. She's good at everything, Marcus said. Wonder where she gets that. Marcus didn't answer, but he thought Rebecca. She gets it from Rebecca. August brought another birthday preparation. Emma would be 11 in November. She was planning ahead this time. I want to do something different, she said. Like what? I want to ride on the motorcycle. Like really ride. All day. Marcus thought about that. About Emma on the back of his bike. About the road and the wind and the freedom. Where do you want to go anywhere, she said. Everywhere. They planned the route. Marcus, Emma, Catherine on speakerphone. 1 week in October. 5 states, 3,000 miles. Emma made a list of everything she wanted to see. Mountains, desert, ocean, everything in between. When October came, they left at dawn. Marcus, Emma, the road ahead. They rode through Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. Emma saw mountains she'd only seen in pictures. Desert that went forever. Sky so big, it made everything else small. At night, they stayed in motels, ate at diners, talked about the day. On the 5th night in a town Marcus couldn't remember the name of, Emma said, this is the best thing I ever did. We're not done yet. I know. But even if we turned around right now, this would still be the best thing. Marcus looked at her, 11 years old, growing up, still his daughter. We're not turning around, he said. Good. They rode for 2 more days, made it to Sturgis, the place where Marcus had met Rebecca 23 years ago. He showed Emma the bar where they'd met, the road where they'd ridden, the lookout where they'd watched the sun come up. Emma stood at the lookout looking at the same sun. Did you love her? She asked. Yeah, Marcus said. I did. Do you still, Marcus, thought about that? About love and seeming what stays when someone's gone. Part of me always will. Emma nodded. Good. Because part of me always will too. They rode home a different route. Through Colorado, Utah, Nevada, California, Oregon. By the time they pulled into the driveway in Sisters, they'd been gone 11 days. Covered 4,000 miles, seen things Emma would never forget. She climbed off the bike and stood there looking at the house. I'm glad we went, she said, but I'm glad we came back too. That's the thing about home, Marcus said. It's always better when you leave and come back. They went inside. Everything was exactly how they left it, except it felt different now. Smaller somehow, but in a good way, like they'd grown and the house had stayed the same, and that was okay. November came, Emma's 11th birthday. This time she wanted something simple. Just us, she said. You, me, Catherine. That's it. They had dinner at home. Catherine made Rebecca's favorite dessert, apple pie. Emma blew out candles, made a wish. Wouldn't say what it was. Later, after Catherine left, Emma asked Marcus, "Did you ever think this is where you'd end up?" "No," Marcus said. "Never. Are you happy you did?" Marcus looked at this 11-year-old girl, this piece of Rebecca, this person who'd changed everything. "Yeah," he said. "I'm happy. Me too." They sat on the porch, stars overhead, wind in the trees, tomorrow coming like it always did. Emma said, "I want to tell you something." "Okay, my wish. At dinner. I wish that you'd never leave." Marcus felt something in his chest, the same thing he'd felt a year ago, and a year before that. "Love, I'm not going anywhere," he said. "Promise, I promise." Emma smiled, stood up, gave him a hug. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For being my dad." She went inside. Marcus stayed on the porch. He thought about roads, about running, about 30 years of not knowing what he was looking for. He'd found it now. Not in a place, not in a thing, in a person, in a little girl who'd sat in a diner and saved his life and given him a reason to stop running. He thought about Rebecca, about the piece of paper, about her knowing even at the end exactly what to do. "Thank you," he said to the stars, to Rebecca, to whoever was listening, "for trusting me with her, for sending her to find me, for giving me a second chance." The wind picked up. The trees moved. Somewhere in the dark, an owl called. Marcus stood up, went inside, checked on Emma. She was asleep, backpack in the closet where it belonged, room full of paintings and books and all the things a normal 11-year-old girl has. He pulled the blanket up to her chin, turned out the light, walked to his own room, sat on the bed, opened the drawer where he kept Emma's essays, read them both, folded them carefully, put them back. Tomorrow he'd fix the porch railing that was loose, maybe take Emma to the hardware store, teach her about wood stain. Tomorrow they'd be a family, like today, like yesterday, like every day for the rest of their lives. Marcus lay down, closed his eyes, thought about roads and destinations and the difference between running from and running toward. He was done running. He was home.